In this lesson, we're going to look at how to convert between fractions and decimals. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a look at some of the basic stuff you should already know. So in the first box, we can see a picture of a half, and the equivalent fraction is of course a half, and the equivalent percentage is 50%, and the equivalent decimal is 0.5. So let's now look at some of the other parts of this and see if we can fill in some of the gaps. So in the next one down, we've got 10 out of 100 shaded, which is of course 1 out of 10, as you can see on the circle. So the equivalent fraction to this is 1 over 10. The equivalent decimal to this, well, how do we work that out? Well, we actually just do 1 divided by 10 on our calculator. 1 divided by 10 is equivalent to a tenth. And if we work that out, it's just, of course, going to be 0.1. Now, to convert that into a percentage, think of it being as out of 1. Well, 0.1 is like 10%. A quick way of doing this is to get any decimal and just times it by 100, and you're going to get the equivalent percentage, which is, of course, 10%. In the next icon we've got 20 out of 100 squares shaded, which has a circle. If you look at the circle, it's 1 out of 5 parts shaded, so the fraction is 1/5. To work that out as a decimal, we do 1 divided by 5, and that is going to be 0.2, and then we times that by 100 to get our percentage, which is of course 20%. Now the last one, we've got all the squares shaded, so as a fraction it's just going to be, well, 1 over 1, I suppose, or if you prefer, just the number 1. As a decimal, it's certainly 1, and of course, as a percentage, we've got 100%. Now let's look at some further questions then on this. If we're going to convert all these fractions to percentages, we need to start with the numerator and divide it by the denominator. Now this gets nice and easy when we've got multiples of 10. So 17 over 100 is going to be 17%, okay? Because it's what percentage means, out of 100. So 17 over 100 is definitely going to be 17%. Now then, if we've got 9/10, we could do 9 divided by 10 times 100. And if we work that out, we get 90%. 3 divided by 5 times 100 is 60%. 3 divided by 4 times 100 is 75%. 1 over 3 times 100 is going to be 33.333%. But we'll keep this to the nearest whole number and we'll just leave it like that. 1 divided by 8 multiplied by 100 is 12.5%. Okay, so that's a quick, easy way of doing it on your calculator. Do the numerator divided by the denominator and then multiplied by 100. Now, to convert things into fractions, it's quite similar. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all, perhaps, is we're going to write them out of 100. Because we know percentages are out of 100, so 30% is equivalent to the fraction 30 over 100. But that isn't good enough, I'm afraid, because they have a common factor. They both divide by 10, so of course we could write them as 3 over 10. 80% is exactly the same. It's going to be 80 out of 100. And then we're going to simplify. It's 8 over 10. And simplify again. They both divide by 2, so that's 4 over 5. Now, 45% is exactly the same again. 45 over 100. Now, this one I can't do quickly in my head, so I'll use the calculator to help me. If you input the fraction 45 over 100 and press equals, it'll simplify it for you. It's just 9 over 20. So you can do this using your calculator very simply and quickly. Input the answer as out of 100 and then see if you can simplify by pressing the equal sign. Let's try that now with 6 as well. So type in 6 over 100 on your calculator, press equals. Of course, that one is going to be 3 out of 50. Now, 16.5% raises a bit of a challenge, because if we type in 16.5 over 100 on our calculator, often calculators give you an error at this point. However, what we need to do is we need to try perhaps 165 over 1,000. Now this is exactly the same as 16.5 over 100, but it doesn't involve any decimal places. Now if we try typing that in on your calculator, it's going to give us the correct answer, which is 33 over 200. And similar to the last question, rather than doing 62.5 over 100, try doing 625 over 1,000. Now this trick works if it's one decimal place, you can type it over 1,000. If it was two decimal places, you would do it over 10,000. So if we try and do this anyway, 625 over 1,000, the answer is 5/8, 5 over 8. Okay. Final question. This is a question in context. A football team is based on a squad of 20 players. In one season, 8 players are shown a red or yellow card. What percentage of the squad is shown a red or yellow card? Well, we are looking at 8 out of 20. So we're talking about the fraction 8 over 20. So what percentage is that? It's just a conversion question again. So let's do this in a non-calculator way. Well, we want to get a percentage out of 100. So think about what we'd have to times 20 by to get the answer of over 100. Well, 20 times 5 is 100. So if we do 8 times 5, which is 40, we've got 40 out of 100. Now we can just jump straight away to that being 40%. In part B, what percentage of the squad is not shown a red or yellow card? Well, that's everybody else. So that's going to be, of course, 60%. Because they must add up to 100. That completes the work on this unit. Good luck.